evening, everybody, and welcome to Let's Talk Assassin's Creed, your number one podcast for all things Assassin's Creed.
Good evening, everybody, and welcome to episode 131 of Let's Talk Assassin's Creed. In this episode, we are going to talk about replayability. Replayability of the entire games, replayability of individual sequences. Do we like that feature? Are we not bothered? And we're going to discuss how it's changed as the games have evolved. And we're joined this week by not one but two special guests, voices who you would have heard quite recently in recent episodes. First, welcome to the show, Arshak from AC Landmarks.
Hi guys, how are you? I'm Arshak. I basically write about historical landmarks and historical figures, and I create content with them with threads and videos.
And where can we find your content, Arshak?
Oh yeah, Twitter and YouTube.
Very good. Thanks, mate. And our second guest is Andrew from Visions of the Past. Welcome,
Hello.
Andrew.
It's been a while. I am, of course, Andrew, and I do run Visions of the Past. It's used to be a podcast all about the lore of Assassin's Creed, and now it's kind of morphed into a what's going on today in the lore of Assassin's Creed. I do that over on Twitter at visions_AC.
I really like your recent content. What you show is every day of the calendar there is something going on in terms of births, deaths, major events. It just highlights how much history has been created within this universe. It's fantastic.
Thank you. And I only do the ones where we know specifically what the date is. Like there's some where we only know a year or a month, and I completely skip that stuff. This is only specifically on the day.
Andrew, I gotta say, I love what you do with that, like the amount of information that you tweet out about like historical figures, deaths, and births, and like significant events that happen in there. It's so cool. Like some of them I don't even know because like they're not in the lore and stuff, but like I'm not too much into the lore, but it's cool to read, and the whole historical accuracy of it is really cool. Speaking from AC Landmarks perspective.
I have to be honest, I was surprised with how some people, for instance, with the birth and deaths, are just a little nugget to tell you that they're there. Like I remember Agatha Christie having her pop up, and I went, "What? How?" And turns out it was in, I think, Heresy. Somebody had one of her books. And so her book's there. That means she's in the lore. So might as well. We know when she was born and when she died.
Interesting. Love that.
Yeah, you even like post about like a very, very modern figure that is in Assassin's Creed. I forgot his name, but like he's in the like 80s, 90s or something like that. And then I'm like, seriously?
There were a few that came up that I did go, how do I breach this person because they're still alive?
Right.
Like,
yeah.
Or they had just recently passed, like, because in Brotherhood, and if you go through the rifts in Brotherhood, you'll see the Supreme Court of the United States from like 2010, 2011. And some of those members are still sitting on the Supreme Court. And you go, okay, so how do I say this guy who's alive publicly is a Templar and not get somebody down my throat?
Right.
Good point.
Imagine we take a stance on Elon Musk.
Well,
that's topical.
We joke about that, but like just recently, the fire in Notre Dame that came up because, well, it's mentioned in Assassin's Creed Gold that it was happened because of the burning of an animus, that the Templars wanted to destroy one of the assassins' animuses. And so,
Dude,
like,
Hang on,
how
hang
do I
on.
breach?
That's so
Within
cool.
the franchise, they've written the
Yes.
fire at Notre Dame into the lore.
Yes, it wasn't too long that it came out. So the fire happened in what, 2019, if I remember right.
Yes, I think so.
Where it
Yes.
is in the lore is in Assassin's Creed Gold, and that came out February 2020.
Okay.
Wow. Yeah, I remember having Assassin's Creed Gold come out. Valhalla was being predicted, and then a little bit after that, it got announced.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then to
Good-
see how
good
quickly
times, good
Valhalla was
times.
like, I don't have COVID, just to throw that in there. That was crazy to see too.
Oh yeah, the COVID, the
The
COVID
COVID
thing,
email with her family, with
modern
Layla's
day.
family. Yeah.
Yeah, that was a cool touch. Not gonna lie.
I'm scrolling through your recent tweets, and there are some names in there that I'm fascinated to know which side they were on. I'm going to call out Boris Yeltsin, former president of independent Russia after the fall of the Soviet Union. What side was he on?
I believe he was a Templar puppet, if I remember
Okay.
right.
Understood. Oliver
Most
Cromwell?
of the world leaders were Templar puppets, except for
Right.
like JFK. There was another one that I'm forgetting. Well,
Ooh, this
Washington,
one's
of
caught my
course,
eye.
but
Marcus Aurelius, Emperor of Rome.
no, I think he was a Templar. Well, Order of the Ancient, because there was only so few. There were a few. Oh goodness, what was their system? There, a few of the Senate members were assassins,
Oh,
but
really?
there
Okay.
weren't, like, the emperors were mostly Templars.
It's long after Aya's time.
Yeah.
He was born 121 CE, so yeah, long after Aya and Bayek were.
So that would have
Were
even
passed.
been after Caesarion, Caesar,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
Cleopatra's son was an assassin.
Yeah, unless he
Was he?
uncovered another staff or something to prolong his life. Yes, that'd even be long after his
Yeah.
death, his life. Yeah.
That's cool. I didn't know he was an assassin. I thought he was just murdered.
Yeah, I see this more and more, especially doing all this stuff on Twitter, is it a lot of people don't know what happens in the comics. And you only know
This
that
was exactly what we discussed on our last chat, wasn't it, Andrew? A few
yes, it
episodes
was.
ago.
So, like, you don't know that Amunet didn't actually kill Cleopatra. She gave her the poison, but didn't actually kill her. So, and she goes, "I'll try to be better. Take and train my son." And you wouldn't know that Quilane Gall, he didn't kill Genghis Khan. That was actually Altair's son Darim. All because of a comic.
Okay.
Oh my god! Imagine if we have a game as Darim. And
You
we're
could,
killing Genghis
because there's
Khan.
10 years of their hunt for Genghis Khan from the time they left Masyaf to the time that they returned after killing after Khan died.
Wow, that would be so cool.
And they failed in their mission.
They failed.
Mm-hmm. They went out looking for the Khan's Sword of Eden. They didn't pick it up when he died. It ended up going to his son.
We were going to talk about replayability. Now I want to know the full history of this Sword of Eden.
This can be a whole podcast, you guys.
Well, I do have a podcast on that on my my site.
Yeah.
Excellent.
If you want to check it out, you guys, go to Andrew's Visions of the Past.
I'll pin a new link to it
Awesome.
on my Twitter.
Awesome.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to go and give that a listen because I'd like to learn more about the what do we call it, like the family history of each piece of Eden. I think that's fascinating.
Yep, and that's essentially how I did it. I broke it down with all the swords. So you guys have mentioned in previous podcasts talking about heresy, so you know that that's the sword from Unity, right?
Oh hell yes.
So it talks about that sword and how it goes from Jacques de Molay to Joan of Arc to Germain, and it talks about the heart.
Yeah.
So I
Yeah.
break down all. I think there were only 3 known swords of Eden at the time. 3 or 4.
Recently, didn't AC do like something for AC Heresy, where you see, is it Stonehenge that you see?
Well, Stonehenge is a location in Valhalla, and nearby underground is Excalibur.
Yeah, I know, but like the new promotion for, I think it was Heresy, or like the new comic coming out, um has a woman assassin um holding like a sword or something like that.
Oh, you're talking about the White Horse. Oh goodness, what is the name of that book? The Tomb of the White Horse. I have it
Probably, I don't
on
know.
Keep
my.
talking. I'm going to Google it.
I was gonna say I have it on my Amazon wish list. The novel you're thinking of is Sword of the White Horse, and it's set in Evor's time, and it looks like the Excalibur on the cover. That's the one you're thinking about.
Okay, yeah. That's cool.
And that covers Evor's. No, it can't cover Evor's story.
No,
So
it doesn't cover Evor's story. It covers a person by the name of Nama, Niamh. I'm totally butchering the pronunciation. I'm aware.
Oh, I
But
don't know
it's-
what in other countries, but in the UK and Ireland, that would be pronounced Neve. Would you believe?
Oh, all right. So that's just like me
Yeah.
mispronouncing Yuhani. But it's set during Evor's time in 878. So I haven't read it yet, but I would bet that Eivor is in it some shape or form.
Our girl Eivor.
Can I just
Absolutely.
quickly say before we get back onto our wizardry of work, if that comic canonizes that Eivor has Excalibur, then I do not care what anybody says. I am making it canon in my head that she is now the Queen of England due to Arthurian law, just because it has to work that way.
You're gonna die on that hill, aren't you, mate?
He's going to keep banging that drum until someone says, "Yes, Declan, you are correct."
I'm not being rude. If a franchise is going to make Isu law into mythology, and then the most prominent British mythology is Arthurian law, which dictates that whoever wields Excalibur is the rightful heir of the throne of England, then they cannot, in my opinion, retcon Arthurian law as law, because AC2 glyphs do state that Arthur did wield Excalibur, therefore canonizing the Arthurian legend that his sword is what made him King of England. Now Eivor owns Arthur's sword, therefore Eivor is Queen of England. It's canon already.
And just to,
I'm not saying they couldn't. They could. It's just you're talking about a series in which Norse gods are really people, and they didn't travel on spaceships of rock. So there are ways that you can say over the millennia that story got twisted. I'm not saying it's not true. We don't know. I'm just saying they could wimey-timey wackiness and do a different route. But I do agree with you. I don't understand how you can have Excalibur and England in that age and not talk more about Arthur and his legends.
Yeah.
And when you look, I know this is completely off topic, but when you look at heresy and how the biggest prominent part of the Sword of Eden is leadership, how she was able to inspire leadership because of the sword, which would explain how Arthur was able to rally such a huge army for Camelot, because that sword inspired loyalty. So the myth of whoever owns the sword is rightful King of England is more based on whoever owns that will inspire so much loyalty they become the rightful King of England, that given time in England, with Eivor using the sword and becoming used to its effects, she could garner enough loyalty to become Queen of England.
Well, you're absolutely true, because that's how the swords work. Even that's how Genghis Khan and the Mongol Empire got so large. It's because he had a sword of Eden.
Therefore,
So they could
Eivor-
go that route if they wanted to.
Or in the DLC, Alfred can be like, "Hey, so you have the sword. Let me make you queen. You'll rule this half. I'll rule this half, and we'll call it Danelaw."
Yeah, and then you got to get into the point of why has nobody heard of Eivor?
Yes.
Oh yeah.
That is a...
Now, if she goes, like,
backstepped.
takes the sword to North America and starts ruling the Mohawk people, granted, that would upset the Mohawk people, but I mean, we're looking forward and not looking back. I think we need to roll back and look at the past of the series instead of looking forward.
I'm just wondering, we really must get on with our main topic, but this is an interesting discussion too. Obviously, it's a video game, and some of the things that are in Assassin's Creed games are kind of just a bit gamey. Okay, it's fine. It's a video game. But a piece of Eden is not something that is just a collectible. It's supposed to be a real object that our protagonist finds, whether it's an apple of Eden or a sword or a spear or whatever. So what I'm wondering is, if Eivor does find Excalibur as an Isu weapon buried underground in England, what the hell does she do with it? Who has it now? Was it lost? Did she take it with her to North America?
And replaying the last 3 games from Origins forward, and I saw it a lot in Odyssey and more so in Valhalla. You keep collecting pieces of Eden. In Valhalla in particular, you got 2 spears, a sword, a bow, at least 1 shield, a full set of armor, not to mention Odin's eye and the apple at she gave up to Cassandra. So what happened to all of these pieces of Eden? Did she legitimately find them? Or is it the Animus saying, oh yeah, it might have been here?
I think you kind of just hit the whole idea I think they're going to run with from now on when you mentioned Cassandra. I think legitly she found them. She did. Hand on heart, I think she found them, because for them to canonize her with Excalibur and then decanonize the bow, the eye, and everything else would make no sense. And then you've got to think as well with the crossover, they kind of did say, hey, Cassandra is now doing a smout on us and stealing all the pieces of Eden. I really genuinely believe that Eivor at some point in life is visited again by Cassandra and gives up her pieces of Eden to Cassandra, because I really just think they're just going to use Cassandra as a plot point now to get rid of unwanted Isu artifacts.
That would be quite a neat, if perhaps
That would
a little
be
cheap
I agree.
way of doing it. But
the only downside to that thought is that Valka said that she would never see Cassandra again after she walked out of the Isle of Skye.
I mean, it's not only her. It can be like the next.
Oh yeah, I mean, we could. It could
or
be something that Hytham hides or anything, because I think out of anybody in Ravensthorpe, Hytham would be the only one she'd trust with that kind of power.
Yeah, and man, I'm just thinking of Cassandra as like this sneaky figure. Oh hey, you got an apple of Eden right there? Give it to me.
She's the nomad in search of shinies.
Yeah, exactly.
She's got to catch them all.
Yeah, gotta catch them all the apple of Edens.
It's not like there's 30 of them by now.
All right, guys, replayability.
Yes, that's what we're here for. Thank you.
Well, on the topic of replayability, I think that should just come in with the whole topic is the fact of we can't play that DLC again, unless you start a brand new save file and chalk through 800 hours. You cannot replay Valhalla and memories without chalking up 800 hours. So, like the old games have little bits of lore hidden here and there, how does Ava get rid of them? Well, we would know if we had ways to replay memories. If we could replay all of the Isle of Skye memories again, find little nitpicks. Also, if they didn't hide all of Valhalla's lore in Blood Transmedia, but that's another argument for another day. So we've no replayability in Valhalla. All these big questions of where does these piece of evidence go, what's Ava doing, is just lost because we can't find that lore that we may have just slugged 400 hours over because we're so exhausted from such a lengthy campaign that we don't have time to appreciate the little details. We're just rushing to the next alliance, if that makes sense.
Or you go to YouTube.
Well, there's that.
Indeed,
But
the wiki.
There's also, like, I remember them saying that they're currently working on either New Game Plus or a way to replay the arcs.
Oh,
so
please.
It's coming. At least that's what is being reported.
I
But
forget the name of the guy. The guy who's in charge of Valhalla post-release. He was interviewed by Jaw Raptor this time last year, I think. And he kind of said that New Game Plus would be the last feature to get added. And I just wonder if they won't even bother now. I'll be honest with you.
By that time, I think like the next game probably is going to come out, and then maybe if the next game is like Bassin's game, which is rumored, by the way, it might get us to play the New Game Plus as like a tactic.
To try to relive
Bassin's
story. Yeah, that wouldn't be a bad idea.
Yeah, I think now that I think about it, oh man.
Go on, Declan.
From what I see of it, I think the simpler answer is the fact of the content. The reason why they're not going to add it endgame, it's the only logical step I can think of personally, is because they're not finished adding content. Now, when you look at how they've built Valhalla compared to Odyssey, it's not a loot pool mechanic. It's you've got to find weapons, you've got to find books of knowledge, you've got to earn them in shops. If you want to do a New Game Plus, they're going to have to figure a way of, well, okay, this person has weapon X from Cathedral X. So in their New Game Plus, they can't get that weapon because there's no duplicate system in the game. So they're going to have to find a way to force the game to have that checked off. But someone who speedrun the game is going to have a new game save file where all their tick marks are back. So it's really hard for them, in my own understanding, to put it in so early when they need to keep adding content and adding more gear, but people can't earn duplicates of them because it's not a loot pool system, it's a fixed gear progression system. So I think they're waiting to the very end, so when all the loot is settled and all the earnable stuff is finished, they can find a way of making sure the system never duplicates it, if that makes sense.
I have a few thoughts which I'm just going to throw in here. I'm not a software developer. I'm not a game developer. So it's very easy for me sitting behind my microphone to throw uneducated opinions out there. But I'm going to be very blunt. A game of this size and this complexity, to not have New Game Plus either on release or soon afterwards, for me is a massive negative mark. I did not really enjoy my time in Valhalla, and I would have loved a chance to replay it, just focusing on the core arcs that tell the core story of Eivor, Sigurd and Basim, and ignoring all the side content. But I'm not going to go through another 150 hours to do it. And I'm afraid that I don't know how complicated it would be to build that New Game Plus system that copes with the evolving material. I mean, Odyssey did it. They had New Game Plus long before they'd finished rolling out Legacy the First Blade and Fate of Atlantis. The Lost Tales of Greece were added. So ultimately, it's just software. If you really want to solve a problem, you can. And I guess they just didn't prioritize it. And I suppose that's where I come to. Why was it not a priority? In a modern, large, open world game, to not offer players New Game Plus, it just staggers me. There we are, mini rant over. Arshak, over to you.
I mean, James, you can have that constructive criticism. There might be a developer listening to this and learning from it, which is good. What I was gonna say is that Origins had multiple save files, and like this game could have run on multiple save files, and then we could just start a new game plus, and the things like the world events wouldn't have mishmashed together. They will all be in a separate file, kind of thing. Do you get what I mean?
Yeah,
Yes.
Origins. We'll go to Andrew. Go to you, mate.
Well,
Cool.
the save system is essentially the same as Origins and Valhalla. I have three. Valhalla is essentially the same as Origins and Odyssey. I have 3 separate save files at different locations in the game. Mostly because I spammed the newest currency and didn't want to lose my save file if that got corrupted. But that's neither here nor there. To the point about why we don't have New Game Plus is I get why we don't have it yet. The gear system was completely different than Origins and Odyssey. Within those 2 games and doing New Game Plus, you just kept getting better gear, better gear, better gear. It was just all the same gear, just higher level.
Yeah.
This one, you have to figure out what's in those chests if your code ticks that box as that chest has already been opened. Do you give them opal? Do you give them a new rune or something that makes you stronger? What do you give for some player who already has that thing? I'm not saying it's just that easy because I don't code. I haven't touched code in 15 years. I think an if-then statement can be written that would say, if this is in inventory, then do this. If not, then do this.
Odyssey had kind of already handled that, and I think this does. There are things that just strictly from a gameplay point of view, ignoring the kind of Odyssey breaks the law discussion, which is a separate discussion.
Mm-hmm.
Just strictly from a gameplay point of view, Odyssey already handled that, because let's say you did your first run through Odyssey, you finished at level 50, you collected a range of the legendary gear. That's the bit I'm going to focus on this point, as well as various other types of gear. If you start a New Game Plus, you start at level 50 and you keep leveling up. Let's say as you level up, you get to level 60. If you loot, the legendary gear is either in fixed locations in Odyssey or it's being carried by certain named characters. So a certain mercenary will always drop a certain piece of gear, or a certain cultist will drop a certain piece of gear. Now, when you loot that legendary item for a second time in your New Game Plus, you don't get 2 copies of the item in your inventory in Odyssey. It upgrades the item to your current level. So when I did my New Game Plus, my first New Game Plus of Odyssey, I think I've done about 5 now, all chained together. When I did my first New Game Plus of Odyssey, I actually started that New Game Plus at level 99, and by the end of it, I had looted every piece of legendary gear again, and they were all automatically upgraded to level 99. So maybe it's different underlying code, but the idea of how to handle that kind of, you have a unique named item in a unique location or carried by a unique person. In Valhalla, you could automatically upgrade it to the mythical level, for example, as like a reward for doing a New Game Plus and spending more time.
You could do that. You do run into the people like me who's already got every bit of item maxed out with iron, and everything is just already maxed. And that's the thing about Odyssey having the level system. You just say, oh, click it all the way up. With Origins, now they did it probably the worst of all, because I have duplicates of outfits that you can only get in one spot. and I can't do anything with it. I can't sell it, can't do nothing with it. It just takes up space.
Yeah, all you can do is hide it, can't you? So it doesn't show up by default. Yeah, I do want to call out Origins from a replayability point of view. So I was making some notes here earlier today when I was thinking about the episode. So if we look at the main games, and I'm going to ignore Chronicles because they're a bit different. Actually, they might not be. I've never explored them fully, but I'm going to ignore them for now.
I
So
love Chronicles.
well, maybe we'll come back to that. Assassin's Creed 1 allowed you to replay memories, but you had to replay the entire memory block. So you couldn't just pick one target and just replay that assassination. You had to do the entire block again. As far as I know, Assassin's Creed 2 did not have replayability.
2 didn't have anything, no. You couldn't replay anything in 2.
Then it was back in Brotherhood, and it's been there up until Syndicate. And then we get to Origins, hold that thought. Odyssey and Valhalla don't... Well, geez. Odyssey doesn't offer memory or chapter or mission replayability, but you can do manual saves, which is a bit of a pain. Or you can do a New Game Plus. Valhalla, you can do manual saves. Again, you've got limit. I think it's 20 save slots, so it's not like you can make a save point before every arc or anything in Valhalla, but it does give you some options. But Origins is the funny one, because as far as I know, you can't create manual saves. But am I wrong there?
I thought you could. I know it creates a brand new save when you do New Game Plus.
Yes.
So
yes.
I'm fairly confident that it lets you do multiple manual saves.
I need to check that. I'll tell you why. Because I was going back a few months. I purchased through Patreon some third-party photo mode tools for Origins, Odyssey, Valhalla. And Odyssey and Valhalla, because you can create manual saves, if you want to replay cutscenes in order to manipulate the camera and mess around, you can do that with manual saves, although it is a bit clunky. Origins, for me, is the odd one because you can't replay cutscenes, because you can't replay memories, but you also can't create manual saves. I thought, but maybe I'm wrong, and I need to check that.
Well, it's been a while since I've played. It's been a while since I've played Origins. Last time I played Origins was in the lead up to Valhalla. So that would have been 2020.
Was that a New Game Plus that you did for
that would have been my second New Game Plus for that one.
Right.
Because at that point, so we're talking about replayability, and I will tell you exactly how I've done it. Every year since, oh goodness, Assassin's Creed 4, I've played the series. I've replayed the story. Leading up into the next game, I've started at 1, and I've replayed the whole series of story. My replay of Odyssey went from 300 hours to 50 because it was just story. And I do that to refresh myself of exactly what's happened, not necessarily in the historic aspect, but in the modern day. So I can follow Desmond's story, the Initiate story, the Abstergo employee story, and Layla's story. And so I replay it all the time. I'm currently doing, a 100% playthrough that I haven't done 100%. Oh goodness, probably since the game came out, whichever game. And one of the things that I'm making a note of doing, and I'm glad you mentioned photo mode, is taking new photos in every cutscene, so I can get it in 4K depending on what TV I'm on, or back on, oh goodness, or just to get different aspects. I'm a console player, so I don't break the camera and I don't look at it like that. But to try to do, like, I have a photo of Maria and Leonardo just because I was able to get Ezio just far enough behind Leonardo that you can't see him. And that's one of the reasons why I replay the story. Just replaying it to get new photos, to get new refreshers on the story. I think I have 1,200 photos and I'm only halfway through 2. And that's just from this story, from this replay.
That's cool. the thing, you bring up a good point. Play the whole story again. Take take screenshots of like the cutscenes, because well, they don't have the photo mode over there, but you can just take the screenshot, and then you have any screenshot that you want.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah, and I do that for scraps of lore. Like if there's an email or something that I want to look back at later, I'll take a screenshot of it
and it's
so I can
also,
look at it without having to be stressed out about the story going on.
yeah, and it's also like if I want to talk about like the Boston Tea Party or something like that, or the Battle of Concord and Lexington, I can just have screenshots from there, or the flying machine. Dude,
Yep.
I gotta replay the whole Assassin's Creed again. The thing is, I would start from Assassin's Creed 2, because that's as far back as the PS4 goes. Uh, there's no AC1 remaster.
Nope. And the backwards compatibility is now into PS Plus, and that's not even to say that AC1 will be in it.
Yeah, yeah. Declan, you got something to say?
See, the problem I'm having listening to all this talk about replayability is when I think of replayability, I think about having fun, going back, taking photos. Refreshing memory is a great point to make. But when you look at the start of Assassin's Creed 3, you get that really beautiful cinematic opener that tells the story of everything that's going on up until this point. Wouldn't it be so much easier for the community going forward to have games open up as replayability for fun, to find lore screenshots, to find screenshots that you just want to for fun, but give everybody a prologue when the new game launches of the lore so far. That way people aren't rushing to speed through Assassin's Creed Valhalla, for example, to get a refresh on the lore. Because as the games get bigger, and I know a lot of people have thoughts on the game shouldn't get bigger, but you've got to understand that as consoles get bigger, you can't port something like Assassin's Creed Syndicate and say, this is our new game, because the industry would destroy it. Would be like, no, that's terrible, because your Xbox can do X amount of power, or PlayStation can do an X amount of power. You're ruining it on such a small game. So games have to get bigger for the way the industry works. So replayability now becomes more for fun and finding hidden lore. But it shouldn't be now about going back and slogging through 200 hours of campaign. So shouldn't they now have an option to give people a prologue through YouTube, or as just an in-game video, if that makes sense?
You could do that. I don't think they've done an intro like that since 4 or Rogue. I don't remember Unity and Syndicate having anything like that, and I know there hasn't been anything like that since Origins. But with the newer games leaning more and more away from modern day, you really don't need to say, hey, this is what you've missed. Because the majority of people, believe it or not, the 4 of us here talking about Assassin's Creed the way we do, we're not the majority of the base that buy these games. They're not going to care. They're just going to play. And well, I guess at that point you could do something on YouTube to the hardcore, and they have a little bit. And then there's is it Locust? Who did the mini shorts, a couple of the mini shorts?
Yeah.
And so there's things like that, and then there's of course podcasts like mine, because if you look at when Valhalla came out, I did everything of the modern day leading up into the game, and then even broke down the what we knew of then, the relationship between Odin and Loki. So there are ways to do it. It's just a matter on if you have the time, the money, the manpower.
I mean, IGN did that with Assassin's Creed 3. I remember when Assassin's Creed 3 was coming out, they recapped Desmond's whole saga up to the point of Revelations, and then they said, well, now it's up to the Revolution and the revolutionaries to continue the story. And that's like that's a memorable video to me because, well, it was really well produced, with like the Forum of Ox music behind it, intensifying the situation and stuff. So there can be recaps of YouTube, but it's nice to have it in game because, like, it just gets you to the story. But I mean, most of the AC fan base right now is casual players instead of hardcore AC fans. Declan?
I do want to defend because it's sorry, it's no offense to the comment, but I really don't like that a lot of the community dismisses certain ideas or thoughts because of the quote-unquote casual community. I really think, in my opinion, as a casual gamer for a lot of games, it's a very unfair thing to discuss with people. For example, I'm not a hardcore Dark Souls player. I play it when I can or whenever I get a chance. I haven't played a Dark Souls game since 2019, which was Dark Souls 2, which I completed. But when I boot up Elden Ring, when I eventually get it, I'm a casual player of the game. But I will still be casually entertained in the lore, through YouTubes, through podcasts, more than likely, or even guides. When a casual fan joins Assassin's Creed, it is unfair for an industry or even a fan base, in my opinion, to dismiss, like, right, you're a casual, let's not cater to them through giving them lore hints and stuff. What they need to realize, in my opinion, that is, when a casual joins, if you give them, when they boot up, a recap of the last 3 games, especially of how Fate of Atlantis is needed to understand part of Valhalla's lore, if you boot up Valhalla and you've got that lore, as a casual fan, your next logic would be, oh, this is cool, why don't I check out Odyssey? And if Odyssey recaps Origins, oh, I'll check out Origins. The casual fan base can engage more into Assassin's Creed if Assassin's Creed was more willing to make replayability, which ties in with their live service, as a fun side thing, but the replayability of a story should be kept in huge recap arcs that are published through YouTube and not just relying on us community fans, because demanding that us community fans cater to hardcore and ignore casuals who may not be as interested is a very, I don't know how to word it, but a very bad way of thinking. It should be more of a case of, we're a professional company, we make these games, we know that the length is difficult to replay, we understand that replayability is something we're trying to figure out with the live service model and it's not working. So when we look at the casual players, we can't just give them just casual things because we assume they're casual. We have to give them lore information and treat them like a hardcore fan because they might eventually get interested.
I'm not going to disagree with you on that, because I think they can do a little bit more to get people, the casuals, into the broader aspects of the series. But the problem I see with that, as a guy who studies the lore, essentially, you have to also remember that the comics are lore, the novels are lore, the movie is lore. And if you're going to summarize the lore on the game at the very beginning, you don't have enough time.
I think Valhalla has that biggest issue with the whole Valhalla's transmedia. If you look at, in my opinion, the replayability of the all games, Syndicate could have give you a decent amount of recap for the games and ignored the transmedia. So could up to Black Flag, even up to Odyssey. I know Afterwards is difficult because of the DLC and the novel, but Valhalla is where it hits worse, in my opinion, because the transmedia is just too bad, if that makes sense. But I think that may be a topic for another day.
Yeah, I think we could probably go a lot on that, especially with the lore within 4 is all summarized within playing the modern day and how many people skip that. But I do agree that Syndicate could have started and probably should have started at least with a summary of the Phoenix Project and why we're going after this shroud.
Yeah.
I mean, all I was looking forward to in Syndicate was seeing, well, what happens to Sean and Rebecca, thing. Like, we didn't see Sean and Rebecca since, I don't know, Assassin's Creed 3, because they were not in Rogue.
They were in 4.
They were, yeah, I mean, they were in 4, but I mean,
they weren't prevalent.
Yeah,
they were just
like
a couple people in the lobby that made fun of you.
Yeah, like coffee shop guy and daily transfer girl thing. Like, they just were kind of there for like the side mission of John, the IT guy. But like, really, in Syndicate, it was just a bit of cutscenes with them when they got back. I was a bit disappointed with that, but yeah, like, what they did in Origins and then what they did in Valhalla was better fan service for them. I don't know where I was going with this, but what I was gonna say is that transmedia has made it, like, not impossible, just too much. It got way too much into the main games. I feel like it should be its own thing, but still within the Assassin's Creed universe. But not delve into the big core ideas that fans of the series play in.
Well, it's kind of gotten to the point where it's like Star Wars now. You have your 9 saga movies, you got a couple spares, you got a plethora of comics and novels, and you got movies, or not movies, TV series on Disney Plus and cartoons. So do you take their kind of aspect where the main movies don't touch what you want them to, like take Rise of Skywalker? So many people were like, wait, how did we get here? Why is this happening? And then they're filling out a story that they hastily written to go, this is how we got here. To know how we went from 8 to 9, you have to watch Mandalorian and Boba Fett and read this comic and read that book, and then get to a point to where they go, no, wait, we're going to stop everything here except for our most special show, and we're going to go back 200 years so nobody knows what's going on.
Do you see why I'm not a Star Wars fan?
It is confusing, Star Wars, I will say.
Yeah, I stopped reading the novels when they went to the High Republic.
Yeah, episode 9. What the hell did they do? Anyway, topic for another time.
Yes, it is.
I do want to just talk. Actually, I want to ask a very quick round the table question of everyone. So, Andrew, you replay every single game every single year.
Yeah, pretty much.
Are you doing just like main memories, or do you go for 100%, or do you just do what you fancy for each game?
Usually what it is a replay of the series story up until the new game. So like when Valhalla was announced, I started with Assassin's Creed, and then I played it and got into the 2020 Reddit marathon and followed with that day by day by day.
Yeah.
I remember writing a thread for
this
that.
This year's replay, though, is 100%. I'm about halfway through 2. I started a new account so I could even get the achievements.
Oh, nice. All right. All right. So what about you, Arshak? Have you replayed some of the games, all of the games? Do you have a particular favorite that you've gone back and replayed multiple times?
I haven't replayed all the games. Like one time, let's go from Assassin's Creed 1 to Valhalla, kind of thing. I wanted to start it, but I I kind of hesitate on Assassin's Creed 1 because like Assassin's Creed 1 is not on PS4 and I don't have my PS3, so I'm like, man, I got to start Assassin's Creed 2. Um uh, and then on I want to do that, but and I'm eventually going to do it. I just haven't, but I'd like to go back and play through Assassin's Creed 4 Black Flag a lot, because that's my favorite Assassin's Creed, and I just love Edward's story. It's very wholesome.
Yeah.
And I like Origins. I've replayed Origins too, which is great. Odyssey, no, I'm actually finishing up with the DLC of Odyssey now.
Odyssey is a this is why I wanted to ask Andrew about whether he goes for like 100% or what, because Origins, I mean, even 100% in Syndicate and Unity is a big commitment of time with all the collectibles. So that's why I was interested about whether you would go for 100% on Origins. Odyssey is a huge time commitment.
With the time sink that Dawn of Ragnarok was, I stopped playing my replay for like 2 months.
Okay.
Because I was burnt out from the grind.
Yeah.
I still have to finish Dawn of Ragnarok. Like I think I'm 50% through the story. And that's the thing, like Valhalla has become kind of like a I'm tired of Valhalla kind of thing.
Yep.
But I do gotta say, Dawn of Ragnarok is cool in its abilities. Like for example, like when you turn into like ashes or fire, whatever. I love being stealthy with that. Um, it introduces like kind of stealth mechanics that can really work out. So, oh, and I love being an eagle. No, not eagle. A raven. Sorry. An eagle is in Assassin's Creed 3: Tyranny of King Washington, I think.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, that ability to like transfer into an eagle is so good. Odyssey could have used it because man, do you have to walk a lot in Odyssey or run? Yeah. And it's a vertical world, and I'm like, damn it, I just want to be in a raven.
So I totally agree with you on the changes that Dawn of Ragnarok made. The problem I had was it was 3/4 side missions and collectible grinding to about a quarter story. If you are about halfway through the story, you got about 3 hours left if you focus on just the story. And that's it.
Yay! I can finally release my thread.
Can I just ask a question then, Andrew? So earlier on, when we were talking about New Game Plus and how Odyssey let you upgrade your gear to your current level, you said that in Valhalla, you've already got all of your gear to the mythical level.
To the divine level.
To the divine level. So how much bloody titanium and whatever the other resources have you had to grind to do that? That's insane.
I stopped keeping track. But I remember there being a loop for the longest time where I would fast travel around Wessex going, okay, titanium or the big spawn point south of Winchester where all those boars spawn. I can remember doing a big loop there, and it got to the point to where I got tired of doing that because I did it probably for an hour, like 2 weeks straight. And I stopped and then just started buying everything from the shops. And that was around Wrath of the Druids. And so it got to the point to where if they showed up, I bought them. And I sold as much as I could. With getting everything to divine when they first put out Dawn of Ragnarok, there was a little bit of a bug that you could take Reda items and dismantle them and get ore and leather and titanium and iron and platinum and just all of them, including the new divine, I think it's platinum, before platinum was even a thing. So now if you look at after having everything maxed out and doing that, I have 500,000 leather, 100,000 ore, and like 180 platinum units and 3 tungsten.
Hell's bells.
Wow.
And that includes the new stuff from the Ostara being maxed out, and I have a few things from Hildebrand to buy.
Wow.
I'm impressed.
You have
Declan, what about you, mate? I want to
Yes,
ask
I did.
Declan just very quickly on the replayability point. So, what about you, Declan? Have you got one? I guess it'd be AC1 because I think you replayed that a lot in your early days, didn't you?
It would be, yes. AC1's probably the one that I put the most hours in because it was the only one I owned for quite a while till AC2 came out. But, I mean, listening to Andrew, I'm just really concerned about ever bothering to replay Assassin's Creed Valhalla because it took me 14 hours to leave Norway, and I really cannot be bothered to do that. I replay Syndicate, Unity, Black Flag, and all the others just because it's fun. There's no crap post-launch bananas shenanigans where everything's just pointless grind for nothingness. No offense, devs, you've done a great job with your world building, but where's the story now? There is none there. If you go in live service for replayability, you need a blooming story. So really, with Valhalla, Origins, Odyssey, will I replay them? No. I got 100% in Origins on my PlayStation, and I thought Dark Souls was more fun than getting 100% in Origins. I'm just saying. Well, like, literally, with my understanding, and I think a lot of people can resonate with this, Dark Souls is punishing. It's difficult as hell, but there's a sense of satisfaction at the end. You complete a boss, you get the lore, you get its soul, you learn more about the boss's lore. There's something there, but 100% the new in games, what's there is just side quests with no oomph, no agency to the world. Gear that has no reason to be there except just gear. If you look at all the stuff in Valhalla's side stuff, and the Dawn of Ragnarok is the biggest one for it, there is no agency to the world they've built. Why replay a game to replay activities in a live service that have no agency over the world they built, if that makes sense?
Yeah, that's kind of why I'm done with Ostara. I've done the missions once. I really didn't want to replay year 2 of Ostara because it's the exact same mission as last year, but the rewards are different. So I want to pick up I guess at that point it's really FOMO, your fear of missing out. And like another reason why I've replayed them is achievements. My main account, I love collecting achievements, but with Odyssey, you're looking at 93 achievements. Valhalla right now is sitting at like 82. And if you look at the Ezio collection, that's 149, except that's over 3 games. Assassin's Creed 3 Remaster has 84 over 2 games. So that was another reason why I replayed it and why I didn't when the Dawn of Ragnarok came out and those new achievements came up, I went, ooh, I'm going to do this. And then spent 30 hours grinding all the side quests because one of the achievements was to clear the whole map. And that's why I didn't play Assassin's Creed 2 for 2 months.
James, were you going to say something?
No, I'm impressed with Andrew's dedication. to
Yeah,
the
dude.
amount of time he puts into these games.
Yeah, like I commend you for it. I couldn't do that because I play the game to have fun, learn history. I got my historical kick out of it. All right, what's next? What's next? What's next?
Yep.
I don't look at achievements per se, but like I would play an event like in the Ostera event when it like comes out. But like if it's an event that comes out again and it has new rewards, I'm like, ugh, gotta do this again. So yeah, for me it's mainly story based than getting the 100% thing. I I don't have the patience for it.
Yeah, and that's usually why I only did 100% once, but I was like, well, I haven't done this in like years, so why not just one more time? And I have a buddy who comes over almost every week and he goes, why are you doing this to yourself again? I don't know what to tell you. I'm a glutton for punishment. He just shakes his head and goes on. And what was he playing? Stardew Valley? I don't remember.
Haven't heard of it.
It's on Game Pass.
Okay. I'm a PS fan. Guys, you want to talk?
Go on, Declan.
Before I pass on to James, I just do want to say that Andrew, you're exactly like me. You know, I yearn for achievements. You know, I think I'm on my 10th playthrough of Skyrim just to try and 100% it because I love achievements. But I will admit, Origins broke me for hunting for Assassin's Creed achievements. You know, the Overload trophy where you have to like set fire to poison enemies in like 30 seconds. Stupid. The Raining Bugs trophy in Origins.
I have a photo of doing that.
That one,
The Rain of Bug ones is
it's a pain
RNG.
because it's all random.
Yeah. It took me like 2 weeks real time to get that thing to go. And bear in mind, I played it a month after launch, and I played that game as my only game for 6 days a week. And the other day I was recording podcasts, so 6 days a week for 2 hours is roughly 24 hours a week. I played that game and I didn't get it for 6 months. Like, that broke me. And Valhalla can go, literally no offense, but screw itself for trophies because it's literally
Mastery challenge, getting gold on all of them. Oh my goodness, that's a pain.
You can literally. I tried the Overload 2 trophy. I followed 47, and I'm not lying. 47 videos on YouTube how to do the kill X amount of enemies that are on fire of certain seconds. After 47 videos, I still cannot do that achievement.
That one's. I made a specific set of armor with water runes and fire reduction damage, and made sure I had all of my rations that I could have. It's probably easier now with the auto where your health comes back.
Yeah.
But yeah, the only thing I think I had was the throwback move and just a bunch of water runes. It did take a while though.
Sorry, Andrew.
No, it's all right. I'm just thinking out loud. It did take a while.
Yeah, I think most, probably I would say 2/3, 3/4 of Valhalla's achievements I just earned through playing. And there was a few at the end where I to be honest, I went and looked at videos and followed the videos to earn the achievements. The only one I didn't get is the Mastery Challenges, and I never will. Because those things can fuck right off.
Yeah, they're hard. Like, I'm having a pain of the time. I'm only like a third of the way done with the new ones. But the one I had the hardest time with in the main game before all the DLC and all the live service stuff came out, that one was the one where you had to sneak right next to a guard while in social stealth. That you get to a certain point in the game and it bugs out and you physically cannot do it. I have 3 videos where I'm touching a guard while in social stealth and it's not popping. I had to restart the game, go through 5 to 6 hours of pure story to get to London, or not London, to get to Ravensthorpe in England, and then go to Lincoln to get it. It was a pain.
The patience on you, lad. Oh my
That's
god.
what I'm thinking. Yeah.
Man, I'd be like, screw this game.
So I want to go back to the replayability topic a little bit. So I was thinking through all the games in the franchise. I've replayed Odyssey's main story multiple times because I just fell in love with it, and I just kept playing it. I've replayed Syndicate fully twice, and the only reason, to be honest, I replayed Syndicate for the second time was, I don't know how, but at some point last year I had a save game, and there's only one. You can only have one save game in Syndicate. There isn't multiple save slots. I think that's right.
Yeah, that one in
And-
Unity.
Yeah, and I was about 85% synced. I'd done the main story, and I lost my save game.
Ooh, that hurts.
So this was last November after I'd finished Unity and 100%ed Unity. I thought, I need to replay Syndicate, and honestly, it was really great to go back. Got 100% sync. I haven't got all the achievements because I'm not going to ride a carriage and knock down 5,000 destructible items. I don't have time for that.
Oh, I just drove into things and eventually it came up.
Yeah, it's just
The one that was a pain with the carriage was the one where you had to shoot the horse multiple times.
Oh, that's quite fun, I have to say. I mean, it's kind of sad, but
Animal cruelty.
It is animal cruelty. But I was wondering, actually, most of the games I've only played once. I'm halfway through a replay of Origins. But then if I think about especially the early games where you had specific memories that you could replay, I've probably replayed every memory in Syndicate, main story I'm talking, and every memory in Unity 3 times at least. Partly because when I play them the first time, I don't worry about the 100% sync objectives. I just want to play the memory, learn the level, learn the story, then I'll go back for the extra stealth kills or the cover kills or whatever it is that the optional objectives are.
The assassin stuff.
Although,
Yeah, I did
assassin
that my
stuff.
first playthrough on each one of them too, and now you'll see me going back if I need a photo for this certain person for this tweet or something like that.
Well, I mean, I have to say, virtual photography in Unity and Syndicate is what has subsequently driven me to do. I mean, some memories I've probably replayed 20 times just so that I can get those moments with the mods that you can have on PC, so that you can get the right framing or the right character or a certain facial expression or whatever. It's great.
So, like
I've
the right
seen your
nightmare
Elise
fuel
gameplay.
for you and your Elise replay.
I am having now. I'm going to keep a very straight face here, gentlemen. I'm not sure what you're hinting at, but I have to say that mod is incredible.
Yes.
It's incredible because when you're doing, I mean, I love the virtual photography aspect of gaming. I'm not especially good at it, but again, with Unity and Syndicate, because you're having to use mods, I kind of enjoy. I'm not writing code. I'm just applying mods that others have written. I find that kind of technical aspect of injecting the mods in the right order, doing everything the right way, replaying a cutscene to get the right thing. I mean, it takes a while. One photo in Unity can easily take 15 minutes of faffing around with many different tools, but I find that quite satisfying. It's not part of the game. It was never intended to be part of the gameplay, but I find that challenge. I suppose it's like Andrew with his grinding for his achievements and his loot. This is my personal grind, replaying sequences to get the right things. But yes, I must say, with the play as Elise mod, that's a whole new level of kind of partly it's just fun to explore the game as her and set up virtual photography situations, but also it kind of makes you wonder, what would Unity have been with some proper playable sequences?
Better.
It's pretty cool.
And that's really where we've gotten with replayability now. A lot of it comes down to the boom in virtual photography.
Yes.
I mean, there's so many people doing it, and that's why photo modes are so huge now. And and really New Game Plus, especially with the idea of like you get it in Unity and moving forward, the idea that your armor changes in cutscenes.
Yeah, yeah. And if I mean, I'm not really a landscape person, but I prefer trying to get nice portraits of the characters. But
Yeah, me too.
the character models in the cutscenes, I guess this is obvious, but the character models are so much more detailed. So if you want to get a really sharp picture of a character, you gotta hack those cutscenes with your free camera and so on. But I was going to get to a point. I have this long waffly load of rubbish I'm saying. What I'm interested in from all of you then, and this is a question that Arshak kind of proposed. So let's start with you, Arshak. Have you got certain sequences, whether it's an entire memory sequence or just an individual memory, that you love to play and love to replay?
Yeah, I mean, being an Assassin's Creed 4 Black Flag fan, super fan, um, I'd love to replay the the last moments of Blackbeard thing, like, that party that he was throwing a retirement party, and then, well, everything goes downhill, and he dies. Like, it's such a great performance by everyone involved, and the story has its stealth mechanics, and it has its like set pieces of like everything falling away, and yeah, it's like a memory that I have. Even that was like an E3 demo that happened, and then when the camera zooms out and you see the ships battling one another, I'm like, oh my god, like that's the age of piracy for me. So if there is one memory that I love to go and replay, it's those memories.
Yeah,
It's that
I will
memory.
just say that. Sorry, mate. Go on.
Yeah, it's that memory. But yeah, go ahead.
I will say that memory sticks in my head, partly for Blackbeard's last words, but also you end that memory by, as you say, you sail away, and you can look over your shoulder over the stern of the jackdaw to this fire and brimstone being brought down on Blackbeard's ship, and it's yeah, it's moving stuff.
It's deep, man. It's deep.
Mm.
Even that term that Edward says, he drinks damnation. It's like a historical term, that like drinking damnation kind of part that he said. I don't know where it was put in the general history of pirates, but that part exists because I did a thread back in the day about Blackbeard, and I put that as one of the accuracies that they portrayed in that sequence. Yeah, like it's the small stuff, it's the small details, man. It's really cool. So yeah. How about you guys?
Right,
Reading that, James?
Yeah, over to you, Andrew. What do you think? What's your sort of favorite memories to replay?
Well, usually, if you've been noticing on my Twitter, when someone's major birthday comes up, like Ratika Hayton, I will put my 4 favorite points of the game in that tweet. The one that really sticks out in my head, though, out of the whole series is the final sequence, specifically the final memory of Syndicate. Going back and forth between the twins, and the story with Steric, and the outfits, and meeting the queen, and just all of the history just in that little area. Gladstone not making it in, Mistress Disraeli going like, oh, you have to meet the queen. It's amazing. I love that section.
Oh
of
yeah,
that game.
Evie Crawford dancing, and then she knees him in the balls.
Yeah, yeah,
throws
yeah, yeah.
throws the dress away and she's like, "Requiescat in pace."
That is
Yeah.
amazing. That is amazing.
It's a really fun final.
Tons of
scene, final
photos
memory.
from a previous playthrough of Eevee through that sequence. It's beautifully lit.
Mm. Mm.
Yeah, it is. It is. I love that whole set piece too. Very bougie.
Bougie. What about you, Declan? Have you got a favourite memory to replay or a favourite sequence?
On the boring one, I don't think I have. I just kind of enjoy the whole story, but I don't think there's any single moment that I kind of just want to keep replaying, and I don't know why. I'm strange.
That's fair enough. It's fair enough. But there's no right answer to this question.
But I probably lost street cred points.
No, not at all.
I've lost
All right,
points.
I want to ask each of you another question.
Wait.
We'll start with-
You, what about you?
Yeah,
what is your
yeah.
favorite one?
What is yours?
His is the ballroom scene in Unity when he sees Elise.
It's warm in here.
That brandy.
That is a very
babe,
good
that
scene.
Brandy.
Come on, bro.
That is
You
a
had
very good scene.
like 4 or 5 hours to think about this.
I enjoy. I'm going to call out not just an individual memory, but an entire sequence. Sequence 9 of Unity,
Oh, I
which
remember
is
that.
Hoarders. So it's chasing. It's a parkour sequence down the river. First of all, you meet with Arno and Elise meet in a cafe, and he just cracks me up because Arno walks up to Elise and she's sitting there looking at him, love in her eyes, and he says the very romantic line, "What do you know about grain merchants?" And she responds, "Good to see you too." And I just love the dynamic between them. But then that is a parkour sequence down the river, which is great. And then there's you assassinate and clear a location at the end of it, which is fantastic. That then sets up the big set piece assassination of Marie Levesque, isn't it? Yeah, I couldn't remember her first name. Yeah, Marie Levesque, which I just adore. That location,
That
the
character.
Palais.
She's a cool character.
She is terrifying.
Yep.
She's just so cold and calculated, and it's just geez. That sequence, exploring the Palais de Luxembourg, which is the same location you do in the heist mission, It Belongs in a Museum, is a fantastic set piece. And then the final memory of that sequence is, of course, the balloon flight, which is again a great parkour sequence.
I love
ending
that.
with a romantic kiss.
I love that so much.
Yeah, that's probably my favorite one out of Unity. I will admit, it took me 2 or 3 playthroughs of that ballroom scene at the beginning to realize that each of the Templars there.
This is the point about right. This is a great, and I want to come on to this in a minute. This is a point about replayability. So when I first played that sequence, I followed the markers, and Arno sneaks into the crowd. He climbs up the window. He walks into the ballroom, and he goes off and follows Elise, and it's all romantic. It was only when I replayed it, because I wanted to do a no HUD playthrough once I'd got a bit more familiar with the controls, that you're absolutely right, Andrew. All of the devils are there in the room, and that's fantastic. But if you missed it the first time, then you've missed it.
Or if you use the Eagle Pulse and don't realize what the yellow, the gold is,
Indeed,
you don't know what they are. And you mentioned doing a no HUD playthrough. I thought about that. I'm not going to do that. No. And I also thought about a no desync playthrough. Yeah, that's not going to happen either.
There is, I'll just say, just a quick segue here. There is a guy, I can't remember his name. He's been posting intermittently to the Assassin's Creed subreddit. He has been doing, and it's taken him a long time, a no damage. I can't believe it. A no damage run. Yes. He's done every single game. Has he done Odyssey? I know he's posted.
There's no way.
It might not be a he.
There's no way he will go through entire Odyssey without a damage.
Well, I'm saying he could be a lady. I'm sorry.
Oh, sorry. They.
It's it's they've set themselves a rule. So there are absolutely certain missions where your character takes damage. So if there's a mission where it's kind of hard coded that, I don't know, Ezio falls. Oh, like at the start of Brotherhood, he gets injured and he has to go to a doctor in one of the early memories to heal up. That's allowed. But in the open sequences or the sort of the open world sections where it's up to you how you play, they are doing they've done through most of the games a no damage run, which is just incredible. I certainly couldn't do that.
I couldn't do no damage, maybe no healing, but no damage.
Yeah, it's mad, isn't it?
Yeah.
Especially in 2, because you get full health at beginning of every mission.
I don't know because they're not healing because they're taking no damage, but it's incredible. It really is.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's more patience than I got, and I've got some patience.
Guys, thing before we move on to the next section, I do want to point out 2 things. One, that Blackbeard damnation thing that I was saying, where Edward says he drinks damnation at the end of the set piece. So in real life, Blackbeard, when confronted by his killer, Lieutenant Maynard, is asked to negotiate, but in turn he says, "Damnation seize my soul if I give you quarters." And then after Blackbeard's brutal death, Edward tells Adewale that he drinks damnation. So kind of full picture right over there, cool historian fact. Yeah, so that. Can you guys hear me?
Yes, mate.
Oh,
yes,
okay.
that was a good story.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah.
I couldn't mash. See, I was on mute, so I was being a good podcast host, and I couldn't move my mouse quickly enough to unmute in time.
Yeah. Also, I did ask the same question to my community. Like, what's their favorite replayable memory? And most of them were saying like the Forum of the Ox or
those tunnels are fun to replay. Those dungeons in the Ezio trilogy, those are fun.
Yeah, man. Yeah, they are fun. And also the Boston Tea Party. So the Boston Tea Party is really fun to play.
Yeah, that whole sequence is, especially when you're talking to Putnam. You're as mad as a March hare, son.
Yeah.
I expect an apology when I return.
Dude, man, I gotta research about Putnam, man. That guy has always intrigued me. But yeah, replayable stuff. Anyway, what's the next question? We got sidetracked.
All right. No. Hey, we do sidetracks on this show, as you know.
Yeah.
Let's be honest. We spent 20 minutes talking about Swords of Eden in an episode about replayability. So whatever. Yeah. All right. So replayability has become a lot more difficult with the newer games, partly because there is no genetic memory tracker, partly because, like in Origins, as we tested while we were recording this evening, there's no manual save, so you can't even take a save at every sort of chapter in the story and go back and replay it. And partly because they're just so long. You can burn through the early games in 10, 15 hours quite easily, but you're not going to make much of a dent in, especially Odyssey and Valhalla. You can do quite a quick replay through Origins. It's only 23 main missions, so you can sprint through that if you want to just replay the main story as a New Game Plus. But Odyssey and Valhalla are different, a whole different scale of story. So my question for each of you, and let's take it in turn. We'll start with you, Arshak. Do we need to bring back the genetic memory tracker and the ability to replay each memory or each sequence, or do you think it's perfectly fine to have this newer approach to the games and the stories.
Absolutely, we need to bring the replayable memories and stuff. I mean, the Animus is so advanced. Why wouldn't it be able to replay a memory? I mean, if the like, even if you are, for example, a sample 17, right? Sample 17 could play the same genetic memory as someone else's ancestor or something, right? Am I right?
That's how the lore was with Subject 17 and every game since then.
Yeah. So like what I'm talking about is that like replayable memories should come back, because like why not? All of a sudden you think, "Oh, I would really love to go back and re- replay the memory where Cleopatra jumps in to a meeting, using a carpet. That was cool.
Yes.
Yeah, that was
Yes.
probably one of my favorite missions in Origins.
Yeah, like you would love to play that, uh, or for example, like I'm trying to think, in Valhalla, one of the best moments happen when, you know during like the Basim missions, when you're getting to know Basim more, and he talks about the House of Wisdom and stuff, like I'm like, oh man, Basim is talking about the House of Wisdom. I would love to go back to that memory and have that walk with have that ride with Basim as we're going to somewhere, because like
Mm.
play.
Yeah, his whole backstory is just in a horse ride and that one campfire scene, that one scene that is probably the best scene in the game.
Yes.
Yeah.
And it's just kind of glossed over. And if you missed it, you have to go online. My podcast on Basim, can't tell you how many times I've watched those cutscenes online to try to dissect what he's saying.
Yeah, like, you know the whole point of Assassin's Creed is that we play through history, and it's our choice if we want to replay a part of the history. Why would we be restricted to not play that history again? It was a norm of the franchise. Make it a norm again. Especially you have PS5. I'm pretty sure you can find out how the next gen can do that.
Yeah. What about you, Andrew? What's your opinion on the recent games, and should we return to making the genetic memory tracker sort of front and center of these games, and therefore replayable?
From a lore standpoint, there's absolutely no reason that we shouldn't be doing this. It reminds you that you're in the Animus, that there's more going on than just the story of Bayek or Cassandra or Eivor. How to do it, that's a whole nother story, because you have, well, mission lists. Now, Odyssey, not Odyssey. Well, maybe Odyssey and Origins specifically had a completed mission list, if I remember right. And I wouldn't think that it wouldn't be too hard to say that you could highlight it and replay that mission that way. The question just becomes how you manage to do it. Like with Valhalla, you could probably you'd probably have to redo the whole arc, going up to the map in Ravensthorpe next to Ranby and saying, I want to go back to Shropshire so I can murder Ivor? Not
Ivor
Ivor.
again.
Yeah, because he's some words.
But then we'd have to see poor Chaelbert again, and that's just sad.
Yeah, but the way Chaelbert, like, I like the character,
He's
and
too
I was
innocent.
really sad that he died, but it was so gratifying to kill his murderer.
Are you saying that his
I
death
will
was
admit,
worthwhile?
I denied him Valhalla so quick. And then I told his brother straight up, yep, I didn't give him his axe.
Wow.
And then
Mate,
he
you wanted
died
to make a
later on
point.
in Chippingham, so
Yeah.
What I was gonna say is that next, like, the next games in the franchise can do something like this, where you know how we have in the old games, you have like a genetic memory, the DNA, and then you get to play through the memory, and then it says, okay, you want to replay this memory, go ahead. um in this new timeline, no, in this new in the new games, I wonder if we can have like a timeline of events that happen, as like a menu, and then you can go through the timeline and say, yes, I would like to replay this, and then you replay it, and then the game takes you back to where you were, just like it happened in the old times, you know.
I'd like to replay the missions just to try different
Approaches.
no, not different approaches, different choices in dialogue.
Yeah.
Because where it sits now, you have to replay the whole game, remember what you said, and then move forward. And so, like, I get that's probably why we can't replay things, is because how things stack up. Because I'm sure that's probably very difficult to code. But if we're moving forward with the rumors on how Rift is supposed to be smaller, akin to the older games, then that would make sense that we could redo the memories that way. And if Infinity is rumored to be the way it is, there's no reason why we're not purchasing like DNA fragments to replay, and we're the ones in the helix replaying all these memories over and over and over again.
That would be cool.
I might pay 10 or 15 bucks to replay Altair's life as many times as I want in high definition.
Right? Yeah.
Yeah. That's an interesting thought. What about you, Declan? What's your thoughts on replayability? Should it return?
Can I like not give an answer so I don't get lynched by all of yous? Because I know I'm going to get in trouble for my answer.
Oh, not at all. Go
No,
on, tell us.
I don't think it should.
Speak your mind, assassin. That's good.
I really don't think genetic memories should come back at the current position Assassin's Creed's in.
You are shunned. I'm just kidding.
The problem is, when I play all the old games for Origins, the stories were so coherent, so linear, so condensed that replayability worked. But if you look at Valhalla, for example, you've got the Essex arc, which is essentially just a side arc, and then you've got, I think it's like 2-3 arcs before you then do a Sigurd arc, which is like a main mission arc, and then you've got an arc of Hampshire, which is just somebody going crazy because they've got too much glory, which is just basically Eivor, what Dag was warned about. There's just so much. I really couldn't be bothered, and this is just a personal thing, sitting replaying memories to try and filter them into one coherent linear story. And as a person who plays a lot of MMOs and knows how hectic the live service scene is, and with Assassin's Creed going live service, them adding genetic replayable memories into a live service with how they're handling Valhalla's live service would just probably be a disservice to how the genetic memories were handled in the old games, where if you look at AC2, when you change costumes, it legitimately states loading new simulation. Since AC2, you've never got that scenario, it's a simulation. Black Flag was just a video game, so that would make sense why there'd be replayabilities. The Unity onwards is a Helix system, which made sense with replayability memories. But since Origins with Layla's new Animus, it's just as if the series has just created this Animus with one goal in mind to do these memories and never replay them. And I just really think of how expansive the stories are getting, how big the worlds are. I really wouldn't want to sit through cutscenes and loading menus, and I know people say they're faster on the new consoles than they are, but how many arcs are in Valhalla, and how, I play 2 hours a night, it would take me 2 days to finish Hampshire or an arc. I really want to keep replaying the same arc to find different endings, because that's going to take me like a whole week just to find every new dialogue choice if they keep adding dialogues, a whole week to find new angles of the memories, a whole new week to remember everything, every little thing. It's just too time consuming because the games are just too big. Make the story shorter and I'll be more inclined to replay the memories. Ash?
In a way where you're saying, like, Essex, where else was there? There's the London arc, there's the Essex arc, Wessex arc, Northumbria. I mean, what I'm thinking about is, like, yeah, those arcs were like, some of them were great, some of them were, side stories, but what I'm saying is, they could have done a way where, if they do something like that again, where you go to many other territories, they can just put, a kind of a drop down list of like, okay, which memories do you want? Do you want the Wessex one, Northumbria one, the Essex arc? Okay, all right, here are the memories. Which memory do you want to replay? A choice in replayability would be nice, but I mean, you don't really have to. It will just be like on the menu there for you. If you want to go, if you don't, your choice.
My only issue with that, and I think it's actually a great idea, I will admit, and I think it would work, is you talk about menus, and this is the biggest complaint I have of the latest games. You spend more time in menus lately than you do playing Assassin's Creed. And that's I think that's just my general concern for the future. How big Valhalla's tree is. You're stuck in a menu figuring out them points. All the codex entries for the data points for every tutorial, every enemy, every location. Again, you're in a menu system. You're in a menu system checking out gear and inventory. And with how many stories is in Valhalla, you'd be in the inventory menu again to pinpoint exactly what memory you want to play. Great idea. Not going to disagree. But again, you're just back living in a menu, and that's just how Assassin's Creed's feeling lately. That it's just a menu simulator a lot of times.
Hopefully it will be a fast menu, but we'll see.
I will admit, I'm playing on the Series S, Ash, and yeah, the load times are really good for load screens. Menus really just still feel a drag. Just because of how much there is in the menus. You got to think, if there's someone mentioned 27 missions in Origins. Imagine going in a menu system with 27 menus, each with their own individual tab to pinpoint which menu, because they all have checkpoint systems. It's just a nightmare to pinpoint, and it's because the games have just got too big.
Yeah, I get you on that.
Tricky.
Andrew?
Well, I get where you're coming from with the menus. It would be an absolute mess because of how many missions are there. I think that's why, if you're going to do a replayability within Valhalla, you do it at the map in Ravensthorpe. But at the same time, I almost really don't care about the replayability in Valhalla, because there's no real, after the main story, there is no real character development for Eivor with all the DLCs. And I think that's why the live service model for Valhalla didn't work right, because she didn't go to Wrath of the Druids. That didn't Like, she didn't think about how the Tuatha Danann, or not, that's Paris, sorry, the druids themselves were like the Order of Ancients. She didn't put all these things together. She didn't realize that the fight with Balor is something she had already done, and there was no real character development. I think when it comes to replayability for a live service game, it's got to be if the character has character development. So if you are giving us a live service game like the Infinity is rumored to be, you don't do it based on one character. If you do, you base it around one modern day character, and your live service becomes what you do within the Animus. This person's DNA, that person's DNA, maybe even your own DNA. And then your replayability comes from what DNA sequence did you buy?
That's interesting.
Can I just say the whole idea, and I know it will happen because of Ubisoft's business model, the idea of having a live service model where you buy memories to help build up a coherent story, really does not sound good.
My hope, and I mean, this could all change because there's all those rumors that Ubisoft might be bought. I'm not going to talk about that. They're there. So
That's
Infinity might never come out.
Yeah, indeed.
So Infinity might never come out, or it might be vastly changed from what we think we know. But if you say you have a small game that's maybe 10 or 15 hours and you pay 10, 15, 20 bucks for it and actually have the content that's worth paying for, and you give the opportunity to replay those, and then you can only replay what you bought, and then you get another one that's 10 or 15 hours for the same price. It's like back in the day when most DLC was only for shooting games and they were just maps, and then you would just play those same maps over and over and over and over and over again. That's the kind of process that I think when I think about Assassin's Creed as a live service, because we're buying the DNA and we're playing the memory of the DNA so many times. And then the story between packs goes on, why are we looking at their memories?
That would be a cool idea. If the DNAs are $15 or $10.
Yeah, I mean, if the amount of content is actually worth what we spent.
Yeah.
And it's meaningful content, not just running around collecting opal.
Oh,
Yeah.
God, no.
Yeah. That's what I'm worried about, I'm going to be honest, guys.
I'm worried about it too.
I wouldn't mind. I definitely want future games to be shorter. I want to get, and I also want a conclusion to the story, which I don't think we've really had. I don't want another 200-hour thing, and I don't want 2 years of post-release content. It's funny. I have thought about Valhalla more than any other game in this franchise because I've constantly wrestled with basically, did I enjoy it or not? And I think the post-release stuff, every item of post-release content has made my opinion of the overall game worse, which is really sad. And I hate saying it because I hate being negative, but I guess I have to be honest. And whatever the future is, honestly, I'd like the idea of playing an Assassin's Creed game, finishing the story and moving on to other games in my library, whether it's Steam or Ubisoft or Epic or on my PlayStation or whatever. I'm not sure if I really want this constant conveyor belt of new stories, or if it is going to be, let's say, 2 releases a year and those releases are 10 hours of content. That's fine because I can play it over a few weeks and then I can move on with the rest of my life.
Yep.
I don't know. I'm pretty, what's the word? I'm feeling quite pessimistic at the moment.
I'm the same way, especially with the grind that Valhalla was. Like, I looked forward to the story to see Eivor move on as a character, and she never did. There were highlights of each DLC that I liked, say like Kara and some other characters from Paris. But if that's the kind of live service we're getting going forward, and it's all cosmetics, that's a reskin or another cosmetic or a horse or a bear with a cone on his head, will I play it? Probably. But will I spend? I won't spend another $40 after spending $100 for DLC that should have cost $20.
Yeah. Declan, over to you, mate. You've had your hand up a while.
I just want to say that Andrew is kind of on my level of thinking of how a live service Assassin's Creed could actually be one of the best things for the franchise. And hear me out, because I know it's a very bold statement, but imagine Valhalla releasing and the first season, because they get enough blooming money off microtransactions, so they can't tell me they can't do it, because I know they can fund this. That the first season, they add a 10-hour mission of Eivor living her life in Ravensthorpe after Sigurd stepping down. Second season, they add another 10-hour free. This is all free content that I know they could add if they literally did it. Another 10-15 hour content of maybe a tie-in to the White Horse comics where, assassins are making a new base, so Haythams gets more content and he's telling Eivor, look, some assassins are trying to make a foot in England, can you help them out? Then you can go to London and just do missions with assassins there. You're reusing assets, so you don't have to waste money on assets. All you're basically going to be paid for is voice acting. Again, third season, you could do another 10 out of 15 mission, connect it to the next DLC. And you can use all these points as well to create small filler stories that connect the bigger DLCs. You could have had a 2-hour preload mission that sets up Wrath of Druids, a 2-hour preload mission that sets up Siege of Paris, a 2-hour preload mission that sets up Dawn of Ragnarok. Little free content that you could use the money you're making off microtransactions to boost character development through free content over the seasons. That would probably be the best post-launch ever for the franchise, because you're watching the character grow with free meaningful content. That would actually generate more people to replay, because there's story, there's agency, there's growth for a character. And it would probably get more people who've gone off to play the next game coming back to replay for the next DLC, because there's an agency there for them to continue.
I don't the only downside I see with that is time, because with the COVID situation and everything going through, they couldn't necessarily get actors and get everything mocapped. Maybe they could have done it like Lost Tales of the Grease, which is kind of what you're describing. Money definitely wasn't an issue with, what did it make, $1 billion in the first AC game to do so?
Yeah. It was reported in, I think, Ubi's end of year financial report in February or January. Yeah, it's the first Ubisoft game to earn $1 billion. What the breakdown is of game sales and microtransactions, I don't know.
I mean, what I would say, this is to end my opinions on it, is that Assassin's Creed should really have a good start and a good end to their main story. Valhalla almost did that. They had the explainer of who Alfred is, and they had the switch to Basim, which leaves like ambiguity, what's going to happen next. The only thing I didn't like is that they didn't explain, why did Eivor get buried in America and not Norway?
Yeah.
And that should have been explained, but they're still holding on to that card, and and nobody will care um if they put it out later on. I mean, some would care, like, when they play it, oh, that's how Eivor ended up over there. But then, dude, like, come on, we've been waiting, like, what is it, 2 years now? It's gonna be 2 years. How did Eivor end up um in in how did Eivor end up being buried in America? Like, come on.
That's really the only bit of story left, isn't it? Or at
Yeah,
least the only bit of what we think right now is important story.
yeah, it's like, come on. We've been waiting for it. It should have been said, and that's the thing.
Yeah.
In order to have replayability, we need to experience the full story, and then if you want to have DLCs, add up to the lore. Don't keep us waiting for stuff. We're gonna get uninterested. So yeah.
It's a funny the Eivor in returning to Vinland is the only question I've got about Valhalla. I mean, other than what we might see about Basim's sort of prequel game or whatever we're going to may get later this year. Yeah, that point. My dog has just decided to adjust his sleeping position on the beanbag, so sorry about the background noise there. That's the only outstanding thing. And I was just thinking while you were both talking about that, I have no problem with a game that ends on a cliffhanger. If you know or if you suspect that cliffhanger will be resolved in a DLC, or like with the Ezio games where we had a game per year for 3 years.
Yeah.
But
each one of those games ended in a cliffhanger.
Yeah, but that's fine because you knew that the production was in progress and this sort of relatively rapid release cycle was coming. But to have Valhalla now 2 years, or approaching 2 years since release, 3 DLCs if you count Dawn of Ragnarok as a DLC, and no answers, it's frustrating.
It's very frustrating. It just kind of makes you go, why are we interested in this character we've been with for 2 years that's not getting any development outside of the main game?
Eivor to me is a passive character thing. I don't care as much for Eivor as much as I do for Edward or Ezio or Connor, because with Connor, even the DLCs with Connor had a character development in it, and yeah, it's not copied, and I'm like, come on, guys, you should be Assassin's Creed fans coming in to program these things, not just do nothing about it.
I would argue that I cared for Cassandra more in her main game and her DLCs and her journey.
Oh yeah,
than
yeah,
I did
and that
for
too.
Eivor.
Yeah.
And she was more of meant to be more of an open space than Eivor was.
Let me ask you both, all three of you, a very quick question. This is an observation, or a little idea that popped into my head recently. Now, I know I've discussed it on Discord, so I may be repeating myself. I'm really sorry. Is Valhalla really Basim's game rather than Eivor's game? And I ask that question because Basim arrives, he has an objective, he sees it through, and we kind of have an arc with him. Eivor just is, and she doesn't change, she doesn't really grow, she doesn't react because of how the DLCs were written and structured. Yeah, I do wonder if actually it's better to see the get of Valhalla from Basim's point of view and treated it as his game.
I would say yeah, it is Basim's game. At the end, you get Basim being the modern day character, doing exactly what he planned with Alethea to do, and the recent meme that I think Cole started about like the a powerful stance in Assassin's Creed Freedom Cry,
Oh, that was him.
Yeah, I believe so. And then James Lasers continued on the trend using other things than Assassin's Creed, because his whole situation with Assassin's Creed. Anyway, but it was made into a meme later on. But uh what I meant to say is Valhalla is a whole freedom cry of Basim of getting out of the Animus into the real world. Um like he wanted his freedom, he got his freedom through Eivor.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Especially with the modern day, I can see where you're coming from in that aspect, but I think you can argue that Valhalla is actually Sigurd's game.
Okay.
Because everything that Eivor is doing is because of her Jarl. She's either trying to find him, fighting for him, trying to save him, or trying to make allies to make his town better.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah. And
I hadn't thought of it like that.
And Sigurd was able to close the vault. Basically trap Basim.
Yep.
Oh yes, of course.
Yeah.
Yeah.
With that thing, without being fried. So
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
R.I.P. light bulb. Desmond.
And Layla.
He really lights up the room.
Yeah.
Poor Desmond.
Literally. Yeah. So yeah, that's my opinion on it.
All right.
Mm-hmm.
Declan, I think we've been speaking for a long time this evening. I think we need to wrap up the show.
I think Declan's sleeping.
No, I do actually want to add my opinion to.
Oh, of course, mate. I'm
game.
sorry. I'm sorry.
And it is probably the most stupidest answer, and I know I'm probably going to get ridiculed, but I'm going to actually say it's actually Fate's game. That's what I've always seen Valhalla. And to explain why I say it's Fate's game is because everything Eivor does is exactly what Odin would have done. Odin, well, technically the opposite of what Odin done. Odin is really a Zeus douchebag type character, but he did try and build alliances, he did try and build knowledge, and he would do anything for his family, just as Eivor would do anything for Sigurd. But as Basim turned on Odin because of his past with Odin, aka Eivor, it's just fate repeating itself of how Odin and Loki did battle, and Odin did eventually bind Loki. To me, the whole overarchingness of Valhalla can be argued Sigurd's game, can be argued Basim's game, can be argued Valhalla's game, but the whole overarching look of it, in my opinion, is it's proof that we can never truly escape our own fate, and we are the instruments of our own demise. Because Odin may be gone, but through Eivor's actions, she did tread in the same footsteps as Odin in some places. Even Dag warned her that doing so much personal glory will bite you in your ass, and there is his whole arc on that whole analogy of, too much glory can bite you in the ass, and that's exactly what Odin did. So to me, it's just a game about fate and how you can't truly escape it if you don't willingly want to change it yourself.
That's deep.
Yes, I may overlook these games way too much, and
you just started another
but
podcast.
You make good points. It's deep.
Yeah. Yeah.
How to end a show? Go deep.
Next,
make them think, and then come back next week.
Next on Let's Talk Assassin's Creed Replayability Part 2.
Let's Talk Assassin's Creed, making philosophy and you think too hard about a series of you killing other people.
AC Valhalla Philosophy 101.
But I do think that is all that we've got time for. It is 2:00 in the morning British time.
Oh wow. And you're still not asleep.
No, I'm up at 7 doing the school run.
Oh boy. 5 hours of sleep.
5 hours sleep. Plenty of coffee, paint the kitchen. We're golden.
Nice.
But I've got to. But you know, as we're wrapping up, let's have a bit of a laugh. I am currently on the sofa, people, in my duvet and my pillows, because this is where I've been kicked for the night. So, because it's 2 in the morning.
Oh god.
It's comfortable.
Yeah.
So yes,
Us AC
so
nerds.
as we have discussed, replayability is not a black and white topic. You know, it's like Assassin's Creed itself. It's grey. You can't find the equal snap between what we can class as great replayability and what we can say is rubbish replayability. All we know is that Assassin's Creed needs to grow its agency for replayability, and in my opinion, that can be done if you acknowledge that casual fans need more replayability of the lore as much as hardcore fans. Don't cater DLCs to casual fans because you fear they're not going to understand what hardcore fans are. You know, they will play the DLC and in turn replay all the games to learn what you've just taught them. So we can see how it goes. Thanks to Arshak and Andrew for joining this week. If you got any comments on what you've discussed today, you can email us at assassinscreed@gmail.com. You can reach out to all 4 of us on Twitter. You can reach us at Let's Talk Creed, at AC Let's Talk. I think I've just got my Twitter name wrong, so I'm there somewhere. You can follow James at James the Liquid, Arshak at AC Landmarks,
AC_landmarks.
and Andrew at Vision of the past.
Visions_AC.
That's the one. See, it's 2 o'clock in the morning. My brain's fried. What do you expect?
You need to go to bed, mate.
I do need to go to bed. But before I go to bed, a little bit of a PSA as well. If you actually are new or you just want to do some serious replayability, you can check out the CD Keys link in the description. Currently, they have a great sale on for games. You can get Assassin's Creed Unity on Xbox, digital code for $2.69, down from £40. Great steal. PC, £3.50, down from £40 again. So, and if you do purchase any Assassin's Creed games through the CD Keys link, you will be helping the show. Just a little bit of PSA, but kid you not, if you can play Unity for £2.60 from £40, I would recommend
That
it.
is so worth it.
Oh yeah. That's why I'm promoting CD Keys a lot, because people don't realise it's dirt cheap on there.
Guys, don't worry. There won't be any glitches. They worked on that.
Shh. It was glitches?
Yeah,
It was
yeah.
So, thank you for joining, and we'll see you all next week.
See you all soon.
Have a good night.
Night.